You have seen it. The hood flares wide. The body rises off the ground. It sways to music that is not really music. A snake charmer sits cross-legged in Rajasthan, a woven basket open. A king cobra lifting itself like a rope pulled by invisible hands. You have seen the videos. The tourists leaning in. The glass enclosures at zoos. The idea that it dances, that it performs, that it warns before it strikes. It feels controlled. It feels almost polite. That was the wrong reaction. A body that can reach 5 meters, 18 feet. A third of it lifted straight up. Neurotoxic venom delivered in measured doses. Vision that tracks movement at distance. A strike that lands before your reflex begins. In Kerala, India in 2020, a man attempting to handle a captive cobra was bitten once on the forearm and died within hours. This is why you should be terrified of the king cobra. What most people don't understand is that the king cobra, Ophiophagus hanna, is not just long for a snake. It is longer than most cars are wide, the length of a large SUV laid end to end, with a weight that can reach 6 kilograms, about 13 pounds, distributed across a body built for precision, not bulk. It does not need to coil tightly like a viper. It does not need to ambush from leaf litter. It lifts, up to 1.8 meters, nearly 6 feet off the ground, eye level with you, eye level with your chest, eye level with your face. Research published in Scientific Reports in 2018 documented that king cobras can deliver controlled venom yields, sometimes injecting over 400 milligrams in a single bite, enough to kill an adult elephant under controlled estimates, and far beyond the 5 to 7 milligrams needed to cause fatal respiratory failure in a human. In the Western Ghats, along the Periyar River system, handlers have recorded individuals tracking movement across open forest floor with head elevations sustained for minutes at a time. It is not the speed alone. It is the reach. It is the angle. It is the fact that it does not need to be beneath you to strike. What most people don't know is that the king cobra is not hunting you the way other snakes hunt prey. It is not waiting in silence for a rodent to pass. It is an active hunter specializing in other snakes. Ophiophagus literally means snake eater. It moves through forest corridors, bamboo thickets, mangrove edges, following scent trails left by other reptiles. Tongue flicks, chemical sampling, a moving map of the ground. A study from the National University of Singapore in 2019 used radio telemetry to track king cobras in the forests around Changi and the Central Catchment Nature Reserve. Individuals traveled over 6 kilometers, nearly 3.7 miles, in a single day. That is not a coiled ambush predator. That is a patrolling animal. That is something that covers ground. In Khao Yai National Park in Thailand, researchers observed one male repeatedly returning to the same shelter sites, navigating terrain with a consistency that suggests spatial memory. Trees, fallen logs, water lines. It remembers paths. It remembers territories. It remembers where it has been, and when it encounters you, it does not need to decide what you are. It needs to decide whether you are in the way. That on the morning of October 14, 2021, a 42-year-old field researcher was conducting routine snake population monitoring along a forest edge near Agumbe in Karnataka, India. He was experienced. He had worked with reptiles for over a decade. He wore protective boots. He carried a hook and a secure bag. He followed protocol at approximately 9:20 a.m. While moving through low vegetation near a known king cobra nesting site, he stepped within range of an adult female estimated at 4 meters, roughly 13 feet in length. The cobra elevated its anterior body and struck once. The bite landed on the lateral aspect of the lower thigh, above the boot line. 2 puncture wounds were documented, spaced approximately 1.2 centimeters apart. He did nothing wrong. He had identified the habitat. He had maintained awareness. He had followed every recommendation. The cobra struck anyway. Within minutes, symptoms began. Ptosis, drooping eyelids, slurred speech, progressive muscle weakness. By the time he reached a transport vehicle, respiratory function was compromised. At the hospital in Shimoga, clinicians administered anti-venom and initiated ventilatory support. The venom had already bound to neuromuscular junctions. Paralysis progressed. The official medical report recorded respiratory failure as the primary cause of death. No extensive external trauma, no dismemberment, 2 puncture wounds, systemic shutdown. That is the mechanism. Quiet, precise, documented. What most people get wrong is that the hood is not a warning designed for your safety. It is a display designed to control distance. When the king cobra spreads its ribs and lifts its body, it is not asking you to leave. It is making itself larger, higher, and capable of striking a target far above ground level. According to a 2020 paper in the Journal of Experimental Biology, the strike speed of large elapids can exceed 0.5 meters per second, about 1.6 feet per second. But speed alone is not the key metric. It is acceleration over a short distance. It is the ability to cover the gap between its elevated head and your body before your brain processes the motion. In the Sundarbans mangrove forest, where roots twist above tidal water and visibility drops to a few meters, local reports describe encounters where the snake's head appears at chest height with no visible body below. No coil, no warning shape. Just a hood and eyes suspended in space. It is not reacting late. You are reacting late. What the video didn't explain is that king cobras build nests. They are the only snakes known to construct them. A female gathers leaves, pushes them into a mound, and lays eggs inside. 20 to 40 eggs, guarded for weeks. During this period, her behavior changes. She stays. She defends. She tracks movement within a defined radius. A 2016 study in the International Journal of Conservation Science documented nesting behavior in northeast India, noting that females remained within 2 to 3 meters, about 6 to 10 feet, of the nest, striking at perceived threats with increased frequency. In Kaziranga National Park, forest guards have recorded multiple incidents of defensive strikes occurring without the typical retreat behavior seen in non-nesting individuals. This is not random aggression. This is a fixed perimeter, a boundary you cannot see, a line you cross without knowing it exists. And because these nests are built from leaf litter and soil, they look like the forest floor. You step, it responds. There is no gap between those two events. It is not slow. It is not passive. It is not avoiding you because you are large. It is responding to proximity, to movement, to pressure in its space. Not because it wants to attack. Because it is built to end threats quickly. Not because it is unpredictable. Because its rules are not your rules. That is not a quirk. That is a design feature. This is not a snake that strikes and waits. This is a snake that can deliver multiple controlled envenomations, adjust dosage, and disengage once the outcome is set. It does not need to hold on. It does not need to chew. It injects. It leaves. The process continues inside you, and the paradox is simple. It looks like it is giving you time. It is not. It is positioning. Gat across South and Southeast Asia, habitat is changing. Forest corridors are cut into smaller segments. Agricultural land expands. Plantations replace mixed canopy. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, suitable habitat for king cobras in parts of Southeast Asia has declined by over 30% in the last 3 generations. At the same time, some protected areas have stabilized populations, creating pockets where density is higher than before. In Thailand, conservation measures in parks like Kang Krachan have allowed local populations to recover, while surrounding farmland pushes human activity closer to those protected edges. In India, rubber and tea plantations now sit adjacent to forest reserves in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, creating narrow transition zones where humans and king cobras move through the same space. Encounters are not happening deep in untouched forest. They are happening along footpaths, near irrigation channels, beside storage sheds. Places that feel routine, places that feel managed, places people consider safe. There is one more detail that rarely makes it into the videos. The king cobra's venom is primarily neurotoxic, but it also contains components that cause localized tissue damage. The initial puncture may look small, 2 points, minimal bleeding. But internally, the signal transmission between nerves and muscles begins to fail. The diaphragm slows, the chest stops expanding. Consciousness can remain intact as the body loses the ability to breathe. 2 punctures, progressive shutdown, documented in clinical reports across India, Thailand, and Malaysia. The next time you step off a paved path near a forest edge, or reach into a pile of dry leaves, or pause near a low mound that looks like nothing at all, you are not just in a landscape. You are in a mapped territory, with boundaries you cannot see, with an animal that does not need to chase you to reach you. It only needs you to cross a line you didn't know was there. And somewhere in that forest, in a hollow under roots or a mound of leaves, a body longer than your height is resting, head still, tongue sampling the air, tracking movement you cannot feel, and it does not know what you are. It only knows distance.